mamas, and welcome back to the Mamas Who Brunch. I am Jelena, your host, and I probably look different than I normally do. And it's because this episode is appropriately titled, How to Survive Mom Guilt. So I've decided to host this episode with my hair not done, no makeup, and yeah, that's what we're doing today. So mom guilt affects all of us, and I honestly don't think it will ever go away. So our only option is to fight it to the best of our ability. So today we're talking about mom guilt and how to do our best to work through it, because there's no way to just completely get it out of our life. It will always exist as far as I'm concerned, because we have this human innate nature that always feels like we're not doing enough, we're not being productive, maybe we're not patient. We always feel that we need to spend more time with our kids because we love them. And I think that's such a healthy desire as a mother to want to be with your kids. And when you're not, you feel this ache, and people say that that's guilt, but really it's just overwhelming love. And there's also a feeling like I shouldn't take a break, which that's the negative side. I think there's a positive side of this feeling that we call mom guilt. It can be a positive and a negative. The negative side is that you feel like you can't take a break, because when you do take that rest for yourself, you feel that overwhelming negativity. And really, resting is helping you be a better mother. So you have to think, when you take those times for yourself, this is also you giving back to your kids. So it's very important to remember that self-care is a positive thing, because you can't take care of someone else if you are just completely depleted. And there's also a feeling of mom guilt of like, why do I feel overwhelmed when this is what I prayed for and I'm so blessed, and other people are not as fortunate, and other people maybe don't have even the opportunity to be a mother. And all of those are real feelings, but you have to separate those feelings from facts. And you can't compare your life to someone else's, just like they can't compare their life to yours. We're all in different positions, and that's the beauty of being in a motherhood community, is that you can lean and support. You can lean on your other mom friends to help you through these things. So whether you are a stay-at-home mom, a working mom, a single mom, married, grieving, postpartum, or somewhere, maybe you are all the above or part of the above, guilt just follows mothers everywhere. And I have learned it doesn't matter what you decide to do as a mom, it's all hard. Staying at home is hard, and taking care of kids all the time. Working is hard. Working and taking care of kids at home is hard. It's all hard. And we just have to do the best and make the best of our situation, whatever that looks like. And so I kind of want to unpack where the guilt comes from, because God actually says that He is the one to carry our burdens, and that we should not carry these burdens on our own shoulders. And in Galatians 6:2, it also talks about bearing one another's burdens and how important it is to have that community of support. Psalms 55:22 says, "Cast your burden upon the Lord, and He will sustain thee, and He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved." There are so many scriptures about depending on God, and He's going to carry our burdens, and He'll keep us in these situations. So really, the way to get over mom guilt is to give it to God and pray and have Him take that burden from our shoulders, because those feelings of that responsibility, that love that we pour into our kids, it will never go away. As it shouldn't. This is a beautiful honor and responsibility. Anything worth honor and worth reward takes so much sacrifice. And being a mom is the hardest, most beautiful thing I think that we'll ever do as women in our life. And 1 Peter 5:7 also says, "Cast all your care upon Him, for He careth for you." He cares for us as moms. He wants to be here to wrap His arms around us. He wants us to depend on Him, and He wants us to give Him our full time and attention during the season of motherhood. So first, let's talk about what mom guilt is. Mom guilt is the constant feeling that you're failing, either your children, your family, yourself, maybe it's your career, whatever your priorities are, you feel like you're failing. And we feel this way because there's so much pressure as mothers to do everything. And you can't do everything. You can do a lot. You can't do it all. And you do depend on people, especially if you want to have these multiple roles and wear multiple hats. It can be done. I do it. I'm blessed to have a family that supports me in this, and I couldn't do anything without them. And so I depend on the village that God's given me, and I love them and appreciate them so much. But as women in today's culture, we're expected to work like we don't have kids. We are expected to parent like we don't work. We're expected to keep a spotless home, maintain friendships, stay healthy, stay hydrated, be emotionally available, serve others, be present even online, and somehow still find peace in it all. So it's really just learning how to push back on some of those expectations. There's not somebody that's like standing next to you with like a microscope, even though it feels that way. And I think that's a lot of self-reflection, and I'm talking to myself because I'm the world's worst at being too hard on myself. Social media has made motherhood very performative, and it can be very showy. And part of that is just taking some time, if that's stepping away from social media or stepping away from environments that make you feel very insecure about your motherhood journey. And we often can compare ourselves to like the highlight reels that we're seeing on Instagram. The kids, these lavish birthday parties, these multi-day events that these parents are doing for their kids. You see pictures and images of spotless kitchens when really they're cleaning it before they take these videos. Like, it's just, there's the reality behind the camera. And what always gets me is like seeing these moms just like constantly cooking and constantly making things. And I'm like, I don't do that. There's things that I do love to bake, but I'm not like always in the kitchen cooking for my daughter. Like, I don't have time for that. I don't hand make everything she eats. Some mothers do that. And if that's your priority, great. But again, like, you can't do everything all at once. It's just impossible. And I do love taking family photos, but the struggle is real behind the camera. If you come to my house, you'll see I've got stuff everywhere. I've got stuff piled in the corners. I think it's just being real and genuine about the experience and not making it seem impossible for other moms. I think one of the enemy's greatest tactics to get us discouraged as mothers is to keep us defeated and make us feel this sense of like condemnation. I feel like the devil can keep us, or the enemy, whatever you believe, can keep us feeling like defeated, exhausted, ashamed of what we're doing or not doing, and inadequate. And that can really rob us of peace. There is a difference between feeling like condemnation and then feeling like you're trying to grow as a human. And sometimes that can get really convoluted, and you have to separate like what is condemnation and guilt, and then what is like pushing me to growth as a person and as a mom. Condemnation comes from feeling shame and feeling like we're not enough, like we're ruining our kids, like everybody else is doing better than us, and that's not the voice of God. God loves us and he wants us to continue pushing ourselves to be a better person. But Romans 8:1 clearly states, there is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus. He never called us as mothers to do everything perfectly. He called us to be faithful to him, and he will carry our burdens. That is the promise that he made, and that's what he expects from us, is we're to be faithful, not perfect. And faithfulness can be found in small moments, and it's okay if things get let go for a while. The housework will always be here. It never ends. And that's one of the things that I've learned, like on my weekends with my daughter, when we have the most time together, I ask myself, okay, what's more important to me, having a perfectly clean house or taking my daughter to do something and making a memory for her? You won't remember cleaning. You will remember spending time with her. You won't remember having a spotless house. You'll remember having a happy, healthy home and healthy, happy kids. So I think that that's helped me navigate getting over some of this mom guilt. Let's talk about the working mom guilt first, because I can definitely speak to that. I'm a working mom. Sometimes it does feel, even though I work from home, it can feel like I'm missing too much of her life. Do my kids wish that I stayed home? Am I choosing career over family? But then I remind myself, I'm providing, I'm building, I'm leading for my daughter's future. I'm using my gifts to further her life. When I cook her food, do you know what I'm thinking? I bought this food. I work so that she can have this food. I work so that she can have these clothes. I work that she can have these experiences. And that's what reminds me that I can be a multifaceted woman, and I'm not subjected to just one way of living. I can be a mom that also provides in many, many ways. I had a mom that worked, and I don't regret that she worked. I don't feel like I missed any time with her. And I was in daycare a lot, and I was being watched by other people. As a child, I never thought my mom wasn't around. So I think it's important to remember that. In our minds, we come up with these horrible stories and scenarios when our kids see it totally different than we do. So I heard a statistic, and it basically said that children only remember up to like 10 minutes of their day. And I'm trying to find where I heard this from, but it's basically saying that all of these things that we remember of our kids, they only remember certain core memories. They won't remember all of the grind and all of the day-to-day and all of the just life routines. They remember experiences, and they remember those special moments. So that's helped me as a mother, because I remind myself that they're not missing out on anything because of my feelings. My feelings aren't projected on them. They're going to remember I say they. Sophia's going to remember her childhood being happy and healthy and peaceful, not was my mom with me every waking moment. So that's part of what I felt to share about working motherhood. I think stay-at-home mom guilt is very heavy, and I feel it's probably heavier than working mom guilt. Based on what I've read, what I've researched, I know that it's so difficult to be a stay-at-home mom. And a lot of the guilt that stay-at-home moms feel based on my research is that they feel unproductive, they feel unseen, they feel financially dependent, which is one of the most stressful parts of being a human, is you feel like that part of your safety and your protection is reliant on someone else. And a lot of moms have given up careers to be stay-at-home moms, so that can make them feel like they've lost part of themselves. And there's a lot of work that goes on they never get applauded for. When you're out in the workforce, you get pats on the back. People are saying, great job. You did a great presentation. Like, thank you so much for your help. Moms don't get enough thanks at home. And I think that's part of the husband and the family's responsibility to always thank mothers, because a lot of the work is unseen and unnoticed. And I think as a stay-at-home mom, you do have to speak up, as any mom, any wife, or, as a woman, you have to speak up and say what your needs are. And if you feel like you're unseen, you're unproductive, or maybe you want to focus on your education, or maybe you want to work part-time, communicate with your spouse and do what's best for your mental health. You cannot sacrifice yourself as a woman, as a mom, in any way, shape, or form. And if you feel like you're constantly just like stretched so thin that you are completely stressed out of your mind, that is very unhealthy, and you have to make changes. And there are seasons of life where you can't really get out of that, but it is a season. Like, just know everything that we're going through right now, whether you're a working mom, stay-at-home mom, it's just for a season, because eventually your kids will go to school, they will grow up, they'll move out, they'll go to college, they'll get married, potentially they'll have kids of their own, and every piece of life is just a season. So I think one of the biggest lies that mothers believe is that if they need rest, they're somehow weak. And I've thought this because there's a part of me that just feels like I always have to work, and that if I take a rest or I'm tired, there's something wrong with me. And part of it's just like, no, you're human, you're mom, you're doing all these things. Like, you're not weak for needing quiet, therapy, help, sleep, help with your child. Getting help doesn't make you a weak mom. It makes you actually very smart, a smart, caring mother, because you're realizing you can only extend yourself so far and you need someone else to help make up the difference. So taking time to care for yourself is actually a very noble thing. And God never intended for us as moms to do everything. We're not designed to carry everything by ourselves. We are designed to have community, and we need to start believing that as women, we don't have to sacrifice ourselves completely. We don't have to remember everything. We don't have to carry everything ourselves. It's not our responsibility to take care of everything in every detail. And I've had to communicate this to my husband, because as a woman, I'm very detail oriented, and I can remember a lot of things. I can do a lot of things, but it doesn't mean that I should. And that is a very healthy boundary I've had to establish for myself, is just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And you have to communicate what you need to your husband or your village. And you also offer that for them. So the village should be coexistent, right? Like, you get support from your village, and then you also give others support when they need it. And then obviously we depend on God. We bring everything to him. In Matthew 11:28, it says, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." He didn't say figure it out. He said, come to me, talk to me, give me your burdens. And even when Jesus created the world, he rested on the seventh day. And I think that's important to remember. Even Jesus took rest. He slept on the boat during the storm, and his apostles had to wake him up. Jesus was resting. He needed that rest. And I think it's important for us to remember that type of rest can come in all shapes and forms and sizes. If you need to go shopping by yourself, if you need to take a break, if you need to get therapy, if you need to get help, take care of yourself so that you can be the strongest mother you can, to give back to others, and also just keep yourself whole as an individual. So I think healing from mom guilt requires, stop comparing yourselves and speaking kindly to yourself. Comparison can steal joy. We've heard that many times. We have to understand that our family situation is unique and our children are unique. They're not going to be like other kids. Every season is different, and we have to be patient with ourselves and not set ourselves up for failure. Let's set ourselves up for success. And that means having achievable goals, not overwhelming ourselves, and saying no. Say no to things. Jelena, say no to things, because that is a big part of keeping yourself whole as a woman. Is we can do a lot of things. It does not mean that we should. So I know I've said that already on this episode, but it's so important. And I think just releasing perfection, just telling yourself you don't have to be the perfect mother. You need to be present. You need to be spending quality moments versus perfect moments, right? Make it quality. Your kids are going to remember how safe they felt, how loved they felt, how you hugged them. They're going to remember you praying for them. They're going to remember you listening to them and showing up for them when they need it most. And you're going to do that whether you're a working mom or a stay-at-home mom. And pray. Ask the Lord to cover you. And if you're going through any of these feelings, God can help you with those emotions. And it's not something that is like exclusive to you. I think every mom deals with this in different seasons of life. And I want to encourage you that you're not alone. And I want you to be easier on yourself. And if you're not, pray and ask the Lord to release you from the mom guilt. And I have to pray for myself because I feel it all the time. I feel it. And if I'm feeling that guilt, it will come out in probably unhealthy ways. And so it's better for me to address that and make sure that I correct that. So that way I can be the best mom that I can be for my daughter. So I hope that this episode has been helpful to you and that you leave with something that can help you this week become a better mother. And part of becoming a better mother could be saying no, doing less, taking rest, making sure that you value those moments that are the most important, which is quality time and creating core memories with your kids. So thank you, mamas, for joining. I love that you've seen the real me in all my shapes and forms. This is just the reality of what it looks like to be a mom, stay at home or working. This is motherhood. So it's a beautiful journey. Let's do it together. Thank you, Mama, so much for joining, and tune in every Tuesday at 10 a.m. for a new episode on the Mamas Who Brunch podcast. I also have a brunch club. You can subscribe and sign up through the website. But thank you so much for joining. Have a great day.